The Watchers. The fallen angels who broke God's law, they were not born in rebellion. They were not created for darkness. They were watchers assigned to observe, guard, and oversee the unfolding story of humanity from the unseen realm. But somewhere between heaven and earth, something went wrong. Before history had kings, before nations learned how to rise and fall, before evil learned to hide behind systems and ideologies, a line was crossed that was never meant to be crossed. And the consequences reshaped the world forever. Before we go any further, like this video, share it with someone who wants to understand the unseen side of Scripture, and subscribe to the Bible Project for more cinematic Bible stories brought to life. What you are about to hear is not fantasy, not folklore stitched together from myths, not speculation meant to entertain curiosity. It is a story hinted at in Genesis, echoed by prophets, expanded in ancient Jewish understanding, and referenced directly in the New Testament. This is the story of the Watchers, the fallen angels who broke God's law. The Bible first opens the door to this mystery in a passage so brief, so unsettling, that many readers skim past it without realizing what it implies. Genesis chapter 6. The sons of God saw that the daughters of men were beautiful, and they took wives for themselves, whomever they chose. In just a few words, Scripture describes a boundary violation of cosmic proportions. These sons of God are not human kings. They are not symbolic metaphors. Throughout the Old Testament, that phrase consistently refers to heavenly beings, members of the divine council, spiritual sons created to serve under God's authority. They were watchers, assigned to observe humanity, not interfere with it, to oversee, not participate, to guard order, not corrupt it. But watching turned into desire, and desire turned into rebellion. They did not fall by accident. They chose to descend. The Watchers abandoned their assigned place in heaven and crossed into the physical realm, not as messengers, not as servants of God's will, but as transgressors. They took human women, not with permission, not with blessing, but with defiance. And from this forbidden union came something unnatural, the Nephilim. Scripture describes them as mighty men of old, men of renown, giants whose presence accelerated violence, corruption, and bloodshed across the earth. Humanity did not simply drift into wickedness, it was pushed. Knowledge was distorted, power was abused, violence multiplied. What began as watching became domination. This was not a minor infraction. The Watchers broke divine law. They violated the boundary between the spiritual and the physical, an order God Himself established at creation. And heaven responded. The book of Jude pulls the curtain back further, describing angels who did not keep their proper domain, but left their own abode. Their punishment was not immediate destruction, it was confinement. Peter writes that God cast these angels into chains of darkness, reserving them for judgment. They were not roaming freely. They were not continuing their rebellion unchecked. They were imprisoned. The Watchers became a warning etched into the fabric of spiritual history. Even angels are not beyond accountability. This explains something many people miss. Not all fallen angels are the same. Some rebelled with Satan and continue to operate in the world as deceiving spirits. But the Watchers committed a different kind of transgression, one so severe that they were removed from influence entirely. They are bound, waiting, judgment delayed but certain. Their imprisonment reveals something sobering. God's patience does not mean permission. Judgment may not be immediate, but it is always precise. And then comes the flood. Genesis does not describe the flood merely as punishment for human sin, but as a reset, a cleansing. God looks at the earth, and sees that corruption has reached every level of existence, physical, moral, and spiritual. The Nephilim are present. Violence fills the earth. Humanity is no longer progressing, it is collapsing. The flood was not only about humanity's wickedness, it was about containing contamination. God preserves Noah not just because he is righteous, but because his lineage is uncorrupted. The human story must continue without interference from the fallen watchers. The flood closes the door the watchers opened, but the consequences echo forward. This is why the New Testament speaks with such intensity about spiritual order, why Paul warns that our struggle is not against flesh and blood, why Scripture emphasizes boundaries, authority, and submission, why demons fear confinement more than destruction. They remember the watchers. They know what happens when divine order is violated beyond repair. And this brings us to Jesus. When demons encounter him in the Gospels, they ask a strange question. Have you come to torment us before the time? They know judgment is scheduled. They know confinement is real. They know there is an appointed end. Jesus does not debate them. He commands. Because where the watchers rebelled, Jesus restores order. Where angels fell by pride, Christ stands in perfect obedience. Where heaven and earth were illegally fused, Jesus becomes the only legal bridge between the two. God with us by design, not rebellion. The story of the Watchers is not meant to fuel obsession with darkness. It is meant to clarify authority. It reminds us that the unseen realm is structured, that rebellion has limits, that even powerful beings cannot override divine law. And most importantly, it reminds us that God takes boundaries seriously because boundaries protect life. The Watchers crossed a line that cost them their freedom. Jesus crossed a boundary that cost him his life so humanity could regain theirs. This is why Scripture does not dwell endlessly on the Watchers. It moves forward, toward redemption, toward restoration, toward a kingdom where rebellion is finally removed and order is fully restored. The Watchers fell, humanity fell, but Christ did not. And because he stood, the story does not end in corruption, but in renewal. If this story deepened your understanding of Scripture, sharpened your awareness of the unseen world, or reminded you that God's authority is absolute, stay with us. Subscribe to the Bible Project for more cinematic journeys into Scripture. Because the Bible is not just a record of what happened, it is a revelation of what still matters.